You know the type. The few people with perfect GPAs, sky-high MCAT scores. On their free time, they're saving the homeless, doing research, have 5 leadership positions, and yet they're some of the more sociable and physically fit people you know. How do they do it? Eventually, you chalk it up to this. They're just geniuses. They were born that way. 2, they're just gifted with extremely high IQs. 3, they just don't need to sleep. Our bodies are built different. 4, they just want it more than you. Or 5, the worst one, there's nothing right with them. There's just everything wrong with me. I can't even imagine how damaging telling yourself that every single day would be to your self-esteem. I mean, no wonder you can't perform. I don't know about you, but personally, it's hard for me to do anything right when I think in my own head, I'm worthless. I can't do anything right. There's something wrong with me. Well, let's hop off the negative Nancy train for just a second, and I'll let you in on a secret. I know a lot of these superstar types. Some people have even thought that I was that superstar type, and I'll tell you, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm the farthest from that high IQ, super genius, doesn't need to sleep superstar. But here's the truth underlying these people's success. They're not born with a gift. They actually learned it over time. Even more importantly, you need to know that there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with you. You too can learn what makes these people successful. Today, we'll talk about one of their superpowers, their ability to study seemingly all the time. I'll show you today how to study when you don't feel like it. And I promise you today that if you watch this entire video and apply what you learn, truly apply it, you'll start seeing true results. I'm confident because these are the best resources gathered across the internet. And I know there's something in here for you. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Michael. I'm a UCLA medical student, and on this corner of the internet, we figure out ways to live happier, more fulfilling pre-med lives. Let's get started. All right, before we get into our bag of tips and tricks, the first thing that we need to understand is this from a conceptual point of view. The concept we're trying to drive home today is that systems produce results. Systems. It's not your willpower. It's not your goals. It's not your IQ. It's not how inspired you feel. It's not even how energized you feel. It's the systems that you have in place. You see, motivation, willpower, inspiration, dedication, whatever word you want to put out there, that'll help you do one workout. It'll help you study for one night, write one essay. But as all of us know, one exam doesn't make your grade. The same with one essay or one quiz. It's an accumulation of 3 exams and 3 essays and 10 quizzes across a semester. That's what gets you the result. So your willpower, your inspiration, your dedication, the things that are great for one exam, it's not going to give you the result that you're looking for, because that result is based off of more than just one thing. Results are built over time with consistency, and things like motivation and dedication and inspiration and energy, that won't last that long. Here are 2 quotes from James Clear, the best-selling author of Atomic Habits. Quote number 1, problem number 1 is that winners and losers have the same goals. Quote number 2, success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. Reflect on those quotes. And the sooner you do, the sooner you'll realize that systems and habits are the things that you want to change. Not finding ways to motivate yourself with 10-minute motivational videos on YouTube or bursting yourself with yerba mate energy. Those things are short-term. Let's figure out the long-term solutions for success. And once you understand the importance of systems, the first step is to look at your own systems. Study yourself. And don't get me wrong, it'd be really nice to stand in front of you today and just give you a one-size-fits-all solution. But anyone who does that is setting you up for failure. Because truthfully, not one thing works for everyone. You have to figure out what works for you. And here's how. I want you to try a simple exercise. All it entails is going back to your childhood self and being curious. Curious about what? Curious about how you live your day-to-day life. Here's what I mean. Take your phone and set small hourly reminders for yourself to check in with yourself. Using a notepad or the notes feature on your phone, write down how you feel at that very moment in time. Did you feel energized after eating that banana in the morning? Write it down. Did you feel sluggish after the carne asada fries at 10 p.m.? Write that down. At 2 p.m., when you were studying with Ben and Brian in the corner of Powell Library, how'd you feel? While you were doing those practice problems, did you feel like you got a lot done? Write that down. Include as many details as you can. Anything from who, what, where, when, why. All of that is fair game, and all of it is important. You might find that who you study with matters, or how you're studying matters. Maybe when matters. Maybe you're not a night owl, even though you thought you were. Most importantly, ask why. Why do you think things went well? Or why do you think things went poorly? You're a really smart person, and chances are you know why. You just haven't had the opportunity to sit down and be curious, reflecting on your own day-to-day life. And look, I know whoever's watching this on the other side of your screen, you're going to want to put this off. And I promise you, the longer you put this off, the more time you're wasting. The sooner you do this, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month, the sooner you'll be able to lock in to your own system, refine it to figure out what works for you. And I promise you, the time that you save with a sound system adds up. Even if you are inefficient for an hour every day, that means you're losing 7 hours every single day. And that math continues and continues to add up. So add this onto your plate this week, figure out your system, and let's go ahead and start reeling that in. Once you do it, chances are you'll find that you're doing a lot of things that already work really well for you. We're going to double down on those. Chances also are that you're doing things that don't feel that great as well, whether it's peer pressure or habits or what have you. We're going to axe those completely from the schedule. Take some time now and just write one sentence down below in the comment section and just tell me, what is the most surprising thing you learned about your schedule? It could be something as simple as, I noticed that my phone went off 15 times in the last 6 minutes. Or when I don't feel like studying, I get super antsy, almost itchy. And the only thing that really makes it better is if I open my phone and I scroll, or I open a new tab and whip on over to YouTube and just watch something, there's just so much nervous energy. Anything is important because this is the first time for a lot of us that we're really being curious about how we live our day-to-day lives. And now, if you're interested in continuing this conversation, let's talk about it. You can find me on Instagram here, send me a DM, or you can sign up here for some complimentary consultations on my website. Okay, we talked about the most important step, and please, again, I hope that you guys go through that. It's the most important step. You can stop the video here, just do that, and you will have learned a lot about your own systems. With the rest of the video, though, we'll talk about some tips and tricks that will help you study no matter how you feel. We'll help you get to the desk, even if you don't feel like it. Step 2, set yourself up for success. Life is really a game of odds. It's a game of probability. There's no way you'll have a 0% chance of studying, but there's also no real way that you'll have a 100% chance of studying. All we're trying to do here is increase the likelihood of you sitting down to study. And here are some ways to do that. Part 1, clear your space to neutral. Messy spaces just don't feel inviting to work in. Just like you wouldn't want to sit down at a messy table at a restaurant, you probably don't want to sit down at a messy desk at work. This concept is extremely important in cooking, and it's called mise en place, or everything in its place. I've abbreviated the 5 steps of mise en place into the following. Step 1, read the entire recipe. For studying, that would mean knowing what you're going to study and what your goals are for the study session. Step 2, prepare your workplace. For studying, we talked about what that would entail. Step 3, prepare the equipment, gather the ingredients, and prepare them to put into bowls. For studying, that would mean booting up your laptop, flipping to the right page in the textbook, printing your practice problems, or loading up the video that you need to watch. You want to do absolutely everything except for get seated and get started. Here's a good way to think about it. Imagine you were your own personal assistant. You're being paid millions of dollars to support you because you're a big shot and all. If you were paid millions, what would you do to make your life easier? And be as extreme as you want. Remember, you're supporting a big shot who needs to get this studying done. What would you do? Personally, I would remove the mattress from the room, take his phone, put it all the way down the hall. I might even slide the chair just a little bit so he doesn't even need to use his hands to sit down. Everything is important because the more time you spend taking away all these little bits of friction, the easier it is to sit down and get started. And that's the goal. Here's another tip. Commit to a single task. That to-do list with 10 items on it, put that away. All you need is one post-it with one thing to do. The more specific, the better. Here's what you look like when you're trying to do multiple things at once. You're like the group of 3 in this Mario Party vacuum minigame. Everyone is pulling each other in every which direction, and in the end, you're making no progress. Not only are you focusing on one thing and making significant headway on that one thing, but the momentum you build can be extremely powerful for the rest of your day. It's hard to stop working when what you're doing is working so well. Step 3. You actually learned this from your general chemistry professor, so I won't take credit for it. Lower the activation energy. The reaction we're trying to catalyze is getting you to study. To make it easier for you, use an enzyme. Just starting really is a problem. Once we get over that activation energy hump, the rest of the reaction inevitably proceeds. And here are some ways to lower the activation energy. Take your big task and cut it into a subtask. Once you think you've cut it small enough, cut it again, and again, and again. That's the task you want to start with. The smaller things are, the smaller their activation energy. 2 chapters of a textbook, that's far too big. 1 chapter, still too big. 1 section, still too big. 1 paragraph, more comfortable. But if you're at all hesitant, go even less than that. Promise yourself you'll start with 1 sentence, 1 word, 1 letter if you have to. The important thing is starting. Here's a story to drive that home. I work in a program that helps patients struggling with their weight learn healthier eating and exercise habits. Our goal is to get them eventually to 150 minutes of exercise per week. But you can imagine, that's a big number. Most of us don't even hit that. I'll tell you about my first patient. Let's call him Steve. He started with 0 minutes per week. And it's something that a lot of us can identify with. Absolutely no exercise. And we were telling him in 16 weeks, we would get to the point where he would exercise 150 minutes per week. Of course, during the earliest sessions, Steve told me that's completely out of the question. The only exercise he did was walk to 7-Eleven, grab an entire 12-pack of Coke, and wheel it all the way back. Sometimes he took the Uber home. And I'm not shaming him. A lot of us are in similar situations. But for him, going to the gym, 150 minutes, that was out of the question. 75 minutes, out of the question. And so when we started working together, the important thing was to get the smallest possible activity done. And you might have thought that we went with 75 minutes or 30 minutes at the gym per week. But no. We went even smaller than that when we were starting. Remember, just getting to the gym was difficult for Steve. And so we went even smaller. Our first step was to just take out his gym clothes and put it in front of his door. If he did that, he won. That was it. Of course, he said, yeah, I could do that. Do you want me to do a little bit more? But I stopped him. I said, no, don't want you to do any more. Take the clothes out, put it where you can see him in the morning. And if you've done that, you've won. Stop. Next time we meet, we'll talk about our next steps. After a couple of days, he said he was comfortable and he was ready to move on. And so our next step was to just put on the gym clothes. Put on the gym clothes and get in the car. That's it. And he was honest with me. And I'm so grateful that he was. Because some days he had a lot of trouble with that. Just putting on his clothes and getting into the car, he felt was too much of a commitment. But eventually he got comfortable with that. And our next step was to just put one foot in the gym. That's it. And it might sound silly. It really might. But there were some days where he opened the door, took 1 foot into the gym, and he didn't want to do it anymore. And I want to take a step back now and tell you that that was a win for us. Him just getting 1 foot in the door was a win. So if you're struggling with getting started, think small, master step 1, and then go forward. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Go smaller until you feel comfortable, and then move forward. Too many people are trying these godly human overnight transformations, but change is slow. The slower you take it, the more consistent you are moving forward every single day. No matter how small those steps are, you'll eventually get there. Here's another tip that I haven't heard anywhere else. It's from James Clear again, the author of Atomic Habits. He says that you should actually set a max. You'll tell yourself that you'll do no more than the max that you set. For example, you'll say, I will read no more than 1 paragraph, or I will exercise no more than 2 minutes. Once you get there, you have to stop. No questions asked. I've applied this recently and it works really well. I find that once I get that 1 paragraph read and I'm forcing myself to stop, chances are I feel a little bit different and I can actually continue going. And once you establish a routine of doing your behavior over and over again, you can raise the limit as needed. Again, the important part here is sustainability. Do as much as you can every single day instead of doing as much as humanly possible in 1 day, then taking the next 7 days off. Another tip kind of in line with what we're talking about is decreasing the time commitment. I personally have gotten really comfortable with something called the Pomodoro timer. It's when you set a timer and you study for 25 minutes, no more, and then you get a 5-minute break guaranteed. That works for me because I found that 25 minutes is a good amount of time that I can really handle and focus. After that, I kind of get tired and lose focus and my flow is gone, but 25 minutes is very manageable. Especially if I have a big study day in front of me, breaking it down into 25-minute increments feels possible. But don't get me wrong, it took me a long time to get to 25 minutes. And if you're just starting out, start with 10 minutes into a 2-minute break. That's the same cadence, but 10 minutes feels also more doable. And lastly, choose easy tasks to build momentum. If it's one of those days where you just can't get anything done, even 1 minute seems too long for you, just start doing the easier things, the things you could do in your sleep. Do the laundry, wash the dishes, clean your desk. Anything small with the intention of moving you forward. Tell yourself in your mind that this is a task and I need to get it done. And once you do get it done, even though it was extremely easy to do, you'll have some momentum. And you can take that momentum and ride it on to some of the bigger tasks in your day. Now, an important disclaimer. You can get really comfortable with this and start doing only easy tasks and avoid the hard tasks. Make sure that this is not a routine, but something that you just use when it's just one of those terrible days and you can't get anything done. Step 4, lower your expectations. Instead of going from 0 to 100 or 0 to hero, go from hero to 0. Take 100, drop it down to 0. If you're studying from a textbook or the lecture slides, tell yourself explicitly that you don't plan on getting it today. I mean, this stuff is hard. OChem, physics, biology, it's hard. So take your time and read it knowing you plan on not getting it today. If you're writing, tell yourself the only thing that you're doing is writing bad sentences. There's no good sentences that are going to come from today. All you're doing is getting the bad ones out. When you think like this, you lose all of the pressure. The pressure's gone. There's no pressure to write the perfect sentence or completely understand that concept. The only thing that you need to do is do. There's no results that need to come out of it. Here's what best-selling author Seth Godin says about this. Seth Godin says that someone asked me where I get all my good ideas, explaining that it takes him a month or 2 to come up with one, and I seem to have more than that. I asked him how many bad ideas he has every month. He paused and he said, none. And there, you see, is the problem. The secret number 1 is the biggest one, more bad ideas. The more bad ideas, the better. If you work really hard on coming up with bad ideas, sooner or later, some good ones have to slip through. This is much easier than the opposite approach. When you're studying or writing, figure out the rest of that stuff later. The enemy isn't you understanding completely, and the enemy isn't writing a perfect essay. That can come later. Once you started, even if it's a terrible, imperfect start, you have a stepping stone. You have something to hold on to. At that point, you have a new enemy. The new enemy is stopping. Do whatever it takes not to stop. That means having your water bottle, your food ready on the desk if you ever get hungry or thirsty. That means if you need a source, you don't stop, open up Google Chrome and look for the source. You just write a placeholder so you can find the source later. You need to just keep going. Things feel different when you're in the middle of it than before you've started it. And for you physics nerds out there, this will make sense. This is basically Newton's first law. It takes energy to start something, and it takes energy to stop something. But once you're in it, inertia and momentum will take you forward. You just need to start and do anything you can to prevent yourself from stopping. All right, step 5, get back in the kitchen and spice it up. One way to do that is to vary the subject matter or vary the way that you're studying. If you're doing practice problems, move to flashcards. If you're doing flashcards, move to watching videos. If you're watching videos, move to condensing your notes. It's hard to do 400 flashcards and then do 80 practice problems after that. It's a little easier to do 40 flashcards and 10 practice problems than 40 flashcards and 10 practice problems. Just like it's pretty hard to do 100 push-ups and then 200 squats, it might be a little bit easier to do 20 push-ups and 30 squats. The second way to spice it up is to make sure you know what the light at the end of the tunnel looks like. Incentivize yourself with rewards. And be completely honest with yourself. This is guilt-free time that you've earned. Whether it's a new episode of anime or going out with your friends to the bar, whatever truly brings you joy, you've earned it, but only once you've finished what you need to do. And really earn it. Because the harder you work at your task, the more that you get done what you said you wanted to get done, the more you feel like you've actually earned your relaxation. And that makes it feel so much better than trying to speed through a Netflix episode, feeling guilty the entire time, knowing full well that you shouldn't be watching this episode because you didn't get what you needed to get done. And the last thing I have for spicing things up is to move. If you can get outside, even better. Moving gives you a new location, a new mindset, a fresh breath of air. Again, if you're having difficulty moving, go small. Move one step to the left. Move from your living room to your couch. Move from your couch to your bedroom. Move from your bedroom outside into the balcony. Just move anywhere else. When we're in a rut, we associate those negative feelings. We associate that feeling of stuckness to the place we're in. If we can move and change our scenery, that can actually literally move you out of the rut. And you don't even have to bring all of your textbooks and laptops with you. Just move, take a break from the work that you're doing, and come back. Chances are you may have moved out those feelings of stuckness and come back to a fresh desk that looks a little bit more inviting. All right, well, those are the 5 steps. And remember, step number 1 is the most important one. Biggest thing that I want you to take from this video is to remember that your emotions are fleeting. They're not permanent. They come and they go. And if they're temporary, don't let them control you. Our minds are really good at convincing us to do things that wouldn't make us happy. And that's where systems come in. Systems will work no matter how you feel. A calculator doesn't feel happy or sad, but even if it did, it would still tell you what 34 plus 35 is. All right, if you're watching this video and you should be studying and you know if that applies to you, then please take some time and apply any of the steps that we mentioned above. Yes, that means not clicking on another video. But if you have to, here's our video on the most effective study techniques, the ones I wish I applied back in college. But please, after that, take a short walk, or just read one sentence, or write on a post-it what you plan on getting done. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below what you thought. Hit that bell notification if you want to get notified anytime a video of ours comes out. If you have any other questions, you can find my Instagram here. And if you're a local UCLA student, please check out our partners for this video, the UCLA Pre-Med community. It's a great place for all pre-meds at any point in their journeys. All right, well, that's it, and I'll see you later. Oh, shoot, you're still here? Well, thanks for watching to the end of the video. And second, I was just working on this quiz. It's this medical school chances calculator. You just take a 10-question quiz, and at the end of it, you get your strengths, your weaknesses, and a customized school list. If you want to take it, here's the QR code. I mean, if that didn't work, here's a QR code as well. And then I'll also put the link in the description box below. Well, I'm going to go back to finishing the quiz, and I'll see you later.